that I would like us to, I would like to be informed, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I've seen that there was still predestined kind of event, even when Rebecca was pregnant. We've seen that she went even to consult the Lord of the struggle which was taking place in her womb.
Yeah.
Showing that Jacob was actually quarreling with his twin brother in the stomach. They started that kind of duel right away from their conception.
Yes.
And this one did not end there, you see. Even when they are being delivered, they are being they are being born. We see still Jacob holds the heel of his predecessor brother, Esau. That one has a lot of meaning that is hidden. But I would like you just to highlight a bit. Just highlight something hidden there.
All right. So Esau is a name that basically means fuzzy. Okay, so he's got all his hair all over his body, so he's called Fuzzy. I don't know what kind of colloquial nicknames you have for people, like if a guy's got a lot of hair on his face, call him Fuzzy. Jacob is somebody that his name is, he's named after the fact that he was holding on to Esau, or he grabbed Esau. So in American English, his nickname would be Grip, Grip, something like that. You see that in the time that Moses is taking the people out of Israel, and the Israelites are coming up and they're coming around the Salt Sea, and they're going to want to come into the Jordan, that they have to contend with the sons of Esau, the Edomites. And the Edomites are adverse to the Israelites going in as well. And so this contention between Jacob as a family and Esau as a family does continue later on. By the time Jacob is done having his children and with his wives and he's coming back to Israel, Esau himself seems to have let go of his animosity toward Jacob, because Jacob does come back and live in peace. Yet at the same time, Esau, while he's alive, and while I should say while Isaac is alive, he's taking wives from the Canaanites. He has 2 wives from the Canaanites, and then later on, in order to say, well, okay, Dad's not happy with this, and Mom's not happy with this, he takes a wife from the Ishmaelites, and so Esau is somebody that tries to do things by outward. I'm going to make sure that everything's going well. I'm going to do these things. I'm a worker, a hard worker. And Jacob is portrayed at first as the soft boy, the one who's gentle. He's a mama's boy. He's in the tents all the time. But when you look at the life of Jacob, once he runs away and he's working for Laban, this man works 14 years to get the woman that he wants. He's frustrated in this, and he's working hard. He's taking care of the sheep, and then he works for another several years after this for his father-in-law. So it's not that Jacob isn't a hard worker, but the basic issue between these two is this rivalry over the birthright, which God said at the very beginning was going to be Jacob's. And we're going to have to take a look at how God describes Isaac's act of faith in this, which I think is key to your question there. And we'll get to that in a chapter or two, when Isaac blesses Jacob, because we know how that happens, but the writer to the Hebrews tells us something that isn't automatically recognizable by our intellect. So with that, I'm gonna postpone that part of the answer until we get to that text, if that's okay.
Okay, thank you.
So the biblical author Moses writes in chapter 26, verses 1 through 5. If somebody would please read.
Now there was a famine in the land, beside the Hariah famine of Abraham's time, and Isaac went to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, in Kelah. The Lord appeared to Isaac and said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land where I tell you to live. Stay in this land for a while, and I will be with you and I will praise you. For, for to you and your descendants I will give all this land and will confirm the oath I swear to your father Abraham. I will make your descendants as numerous as the star in the sky, and I will give them all this land. And through you, your offspring, all nations on earth will be blessed. Because Abraham obeyed me and kept my requirement, my commands, my decrees, and my laws.
Now, again, verse 5, it says, because Abraham obeyed my voice. I'm going to read to you in Hebrew, Akev Asher Shema, because he listened to my voice. So Abraham Shema Bakoli, Abraham listened to my voice. Obey, like I said before, tends to imply in English a little bit too much about human work and not enough about simply listening to. And the emphasis here is on Abraham listening to what God said. The later in there, it says he kept my charge and he kept my commandments, meaning guarding and such, and he kept my laws. So yes, Abraham did abide. He did live according to God's word. But the point here is that it's not obeyed my voice, but heard my voice or hearkened to it. He listened. And now you see also in verse 4, the promise of the seed is conveyed. Here God gives directly to Isaac this very fact that he is the inheritor of the direct promise, that he is the one who is in his family, the nations of the world will be blessed through this promised seed, the seed promised to Eve. So we go, if you're willing, verses 7 through 11. Someone to read 7 through 11.
When the man of the place asked him about his wife, he said, "She is my sister," because he was afraid to say, "Is my wife." He thought the man of this place might kill me on account of Rebekah, because she was beautiful. When Isaac had been there a long time, Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked down from a window and saw Isaac caressing his wife Rebekah. So Abimelech summoned Isaac and said, "She is really your wife. Why did you say she is my sister?" Isaac answered him, "Because I thought I might lose my life on account of her." Then Abimelech said, That what is this you have done to us? One of the men might well have slept with your wife, and you should have brought guilt upon us. So Abimelech gave order to all the people. Anyone who molests this man or his wife shall surely be put to death.
Which is pretty much the same thing that the Abimelech in chapter 20 said about Abraham and Sarah. I mean, this is a like father, like son account. Isaac is doing the same thing that his dad did, and with the same group of people, with Abimelech. So Isaac is staying there at the Lord's direction. God is the one that directed him, and part of this also is we can probably go back to chapter 20 and say, well, here we have God's work that would guarantee their safety, and Isaac wasn't exactly trusting that. He knew what was in the heart of man and didn't trust Abimelech and the Philistines. This twice now we've had this term. The term Philistine. This is another thing that people view as an anachronism, that they say, well, it shouldn't really be there. But again, this is a problem with the way people are doing history. Instead of accepting the fact that the Bible is relating things that did happen. They rely on their own lack of information to say, well, I don't know of anybody who was called a Philistine at Abraham's time, therefore they couldn't have been Philistine, which is a false reasoning. So Isaac is staying in the land. If somebody would please read 12 through 16.
Yes. And Isaac sowed in that land and reaped in the same year of 100-fold. The Lord blessed him, and the man became rich and gained more and more until he became very wealthy. He had possessions of flocks and herds and many servants, so that the Philistines envied him. Now the Philistines had stopped and filled with earth all the wells that his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham, his father. And Abimelech said to Isaac, "Go away from us, for you are much mightier than we." So Isaac.
Now, this is an irony here. You know, you can see God blessing him, and so what do? They fill up the wells. They're trying to drive him out by making sure that he can't get water for his sheep and his goats and his herds and his flocks. You know, so it's basically kind of a scorched earth policy almost. Deprive him of the food or the water for the animals so that he has to leave, driving him out this way. And yes, please continue 17 through 22.
So Isaac departed from there and encamped in the valley of Gerar and settled there. And Isaac dug again the wells of water that had been dug in the days of Abraham, his father, which the Philistines had stopped after the death of Abraham. And he gave them the names that his father had given them. But when Isaac, his servants, dug in the valley and found there a well of spring water, the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with Isaac's herdsmen, saying, "The water is ours." So he called the name of the well Esek, because they contended with him. Then they dug another well, and they quarreled over that also. So he called its name Sidna. And he moved from there and dug another well, and they did not quarrel over it. So he called its name Rehoboth, saying, "For now the Lord has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land."
Now notice the way that he's using names. Okay, so you have Esek, which means quarrel, and you have Sitna, which is strife, and then Rehovot, which means spacious. So you know, those are not unusual ways to name things. I guess pretty much for any people or any family. You know, when I have a city near me that's named Blue Earth, because the ground is so dark, it reflects the sunlight in a bluish way. You know, so it's a typical naming convention, but these names reflect the history of what's going on, and Moses is reminding the people also of the history of where these wells come from, because they're geographical markers in Moses's day when they come into the land. Would someone please read verses 23 through 25?
I read. Yes. From there he went up to Sheva. That night the Lord appeared to him and said, "I am God of your father Abraham. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. I will bless you, and you will increase the number of your descendants for the sake of my servant Abraham." 25. Isaac built an altar
there and called on that name of the Lord. There he pitched his tent, and then this servant dug away.
Now, just to note, this is the same place that Abraham had lived for quite a while. Abraham stayed by Beersheba. He returned to Beersheba several different times. It was named the Well of the Oath because of his arrangement with the king of Gerar, with Abimelech. So it takes its name from that very same people, that the same kind of incident. Verses 26 through 33.
Then Abimelech went to him from Gerar with Ahuzzath, his advisor, and Phicol, the commander of his army. Isaac said to them, "Why have you come to me, seeing that you hate me and have sent me away from you?" They said, "We see plainly that the Lord is with you." So we said, "Let there be an oath between you and us, and let us make a covenant with you, that you will do us no harm, just as we have not touched you and have done to you nothing but good, and have sent you away in peace. You are now the blessed of the Lord." So he made a feast, and they ate and drank. In the morning they rose early and took an oath with one another, and Isaac set them on their way, and they departed from him in peace. That same day Isaac's servants came and told him about the well which they had dug, and said to him, "We found water." He called it Sheba. Therefore, the name of the city is Beersheba to this day.
Okay, so let's do a comparison here. Genesis 21, 31 through 32. So somebody take a look at this. Genesis 21, 31 to 32.
Therefore, that place was called Beersheba, because they are both of them swore an oath. So they made a covenant of Beersheba at Beersheba. Then Abimelech and Phicol, the commander of his army, rose up and returned to the land of the Philistines.
Okay, so both Abraham and Isaac make an oath with Abimelech and Phicol at the same place. This is communicating the oath from one generation to the next. Abraham is dead. So how does the covenant between Abimelech and Isaac get established? Well, they go to the same place and they make the same oath. They reestablish the place. The place is named again after that oath. You know, this isn't a matter of two different confused sources. This is a matter of continuing from one generation to the next, a treaty or a contract between two different nations, a peace treaty that was arranged between them. So now we're close up on the hour. We've got just a little bit left here in this chapter. Let's come back to this. I'll give you guys a 10-minute break, and we'll come back to it. That sound okay?
Yes.
Okay. I don't want you to get too tired. It looks like some of you are wearing short sleeves, so it must be a warmer day.
No, we are not.
It's not raining.
Okay. We'll see you in 10 minutes, all right?
End of break.